Hello again guys, and welcome back to Civilization 5 Brave New World Edition, still playing as Germany and attempting to get a cultural victory. In the last episode, Hiawatha of the Iroquois decided he was going to rain on our parade by declaring war. Now, he didn't get very far. He sent most of his forces north towards Hamburg and got blocked by a line of my troops. He did then sue for peace and I ignored him, mainly because I wanted to go to war with him anyway at some point, because I want to take Grand River. But been having a bit of a think, and what I've decided I'm going to do is I am going to try and take a peace with him, and there's several reasons for that. First of all, if I try and take Grand River at the moment, I will get a major warmonger penalty, which I don't really want to get. I don't really have any units in place that are capable of taking it in any case. I've got Singapore who are currently against me because they're his ally, and I'd like to get them on side before we end up in a war again, so that at the very least I can pass through their territory quite safely. And what I think I should do is go to peace with him. It'll give me some time to set up some more units and to progress unhindered. He's most likely going to declare war on me again, but this means that I can actually denounce him, and I might get some support from other civilizations. It may put us in a stronger spot to deal with him in the future. And I might even be able to get one of my friends, like the Incas, to help me in the war. So we'll see how that's going to work out. So I'm going to speak to him now, and I'm going to try and negotiate peace. He will go for a peace treaty, so I'm not sure he'll give me anything else. He doesn't have any gold per turn. See, he's kind of in a bad position anyway. So we are going to... I think we should still go for mutual embassies. There's no reason why not. He has accepted the peace deal. I'm now instantly going to go back in and discuss and publicly denounce him. Now, that will upset him, because I've denounced him, but that is me basically giving him a warning. I'm issuing him with a warning publicly, and all of the other civilizations will eventually, it does take a little bit longer to get to the civilizations further away, but all of the other civilizations will come to hear that I have denounced him because he has wronged me. And we'll see if I actually get any support from any of those other civilizations. And this should hopefully give me some time to be able to build up my empire a little bit more and get back on track with things. We've discovered some more ruins. So one of the first things I want to do, because it wasn't in the peace treaty, is make peace with Singapore, and we need to try and do some stuff with them to get them on side as soon as possible. Just going to have a quick look at my units and see which ones don't have the altitude training bonus, and I'm going to move them all over to Mount Kilimanjaro just to get them the bonus. You guys can have an upgrade. I know we're a little bit short on cash right now, but we need to get these people dealt with as soon as possible. So I did lose a trade ship on the last video because it got taken out by some sort of barbarian pirates that were over here. I don't really want that to happen again. So what I'm going to do for the time being is build a caravan. Now, caravans aren't as good as trade ships. They can't travel as far, not initially anyway. You don't get as much gold from them, and I'm obviously limited to trading with things like the city-states. Should be close enough to actually trade with Singapore, though, which should be good. If not, at least we can send some additional food and production down to Hamburg, so that's not the end of the world. These archers have done their job. Just have a look out here to see if we can see that pirate ship, and we cannot, so they're also going to come down here and try and get their upgrade as well. You guys are going to stay on alert, and on for an easy first turn on this video. So, if you remember, I've started another city just down on that piece of land to the south. And I've already got a couple of workers down there, which are the ones that were kind of trapped behind the Iroquois borders. And there's that barbarian ship again, which is completely stuffed now because it's going to get taken out by my archers on this turn. And we have met Carthage, so let's trade and go for a mutual embassy if possible. And we do. So, okay, archers, fire. And I don't think we get any XP for that. But, oh, we did get a little. Must remember, of course, there is an XP cap on barbarians. You can only get a certain amount of experience for killing barbarians. I think the cap is 30 experience. So if you have a unit that hasn't killed anything, or is level 1, These guys are level 2. Do I have anybody who's level 1? These guys are level 1. So at level 1, it takes 10 experience to get to level 2. So you can get to level 2 by killing barbarians. These guys are level 2. And at level 2, it takes 30 experience to get to level 3. So you can kill barbarians and get up to 30 experience. But if you have a unit that is already level 3, I don't think I do. But if I had a unit that was already level 3, it would take me, I think it's something like 45 experience to get up to level 4. And you can't get that amount of experience for killing barbarians. So there does come a point where, like, here we are, level 3. It's actually 60 experience. 60 experience to get up to level 4. And you can't go above 30 experience on killing barbarians. So if you want to get above that promotion level, you either need buildings in your cities that will allow your units to get additional XP, or you need to go and kill units that belong to other civilizations. I'm going to leave these guys here for now, just protecting me a little bit from their borders. I can upgrade them, but I haven't really got the money to do that, so there's very little point in trying to do that right now. Still quite ahead on score. Hiawatha's sort of stuck in the middle there. It is also my plan to set another city up here at the top, and I probably should get around to doing that quite quickly before anyone else claims that land. There's 3 patches of silver up there, and if I can actually get silver up there, that would solve a lot of my financial problems right now. There isn't anything that I particularly need to build here. I could build the Borobudur, and I could also build the Hagia Sophia, which would both give me faith. Neither of which I particularly want or need. I could build the Writers Guild. Now, Writers Guild, Artists Guild, Musicians Guild are national wonders, so every civilization can build one of them. It makes sense in a cultural victory to put them all in your capital city, because that's usually where you will generate the most culture. It will give me 2 writing slots, and it will also give me a great writer point, which is a great writer point per turn. And some people did ask me how great people work, and I will explain that more as the game goes on, particularly as we start to build these buildings. So if I click on Berlin, you can actually see currently we're only working towards a great scientist and a great engineer. Now, as you can see, progress towards a great scientist is 39 of 200, and we have +1 scientist point, so we've obviously got a building or a wonder in our city that's giving us +1 great scientist point per turn. Our great engineer, we are 88 of 200, and we have +4. So we've obviously got building or buildings in the city that are giving us 4 engineer points per turn. So that's how we start to get those. But I will explain more about those later on as we go through. So what I'm going to do here for now is build a settler, because we are only 3 turns away from building a settler. And one thing I did want to check on this is if we just go... Let's get city management up, because we're currently on production focus. No, it's not actually going to make any difference on how long. It's still going to be 3 turns to produce a settler either way. So we'll leave it on production focus and concentrate on our units. Now, what are we going to do with these workers? Well, there isn't really an awful lot up here that needs upgrading. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these workers down and actually start upgrading some of the tiles down here. Going to get these guys down and start upgrading this salt. We'll also get these gems hooked up, and probably this wheat as well. And then possibly as soon as we can, there actually 1, 2, 3. We can't really work the iron hex because it's out of our range. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the iron's just out of range, but we will actually get the resource if we upgrade the tile. And we have our caravan. So we can trade with Singapore. 7 gold per turn, so we may as well do that. We could build a caravansary, of course, which would help with that. And I think these guys are just going to stay there. Now, we do have a peace treaty with Hiawatha, so he can't actually go to war with us. And likewise, we can't go to war with him within a set number of turns. So already, we only met Dido of Carthage 1 turn ago, and she wants us to go to war with Rome for her. We don't have any interest in doing that right now. They're pretty much too far away for me to deal with anyway, and I've got my own domestic problems. So we've got our trade route established for Singapore, which means it must have been a quest. So, citizens of Singapore are glad to see a connected trade route. Your influence with them has increased by 40, which is great. That makes us friends instantly. If we have a quick look at the diplomacy overview and go to our global politics, you can see that we have denounced Hiawatha for 46 turns. So that's quite a long time. Now, I can't remember how long the peace treaties last for, but it does mean that we can't actually go to war in that time. Just let me click on that hex for some reason. It shouldn't do, because that would mean going to war. Seems a bit strange, because you can't actually go to war. I just can't remember how many turns the peace treaty lasts for. So all of these guys are basically just going here to get the promotion, and then they're going to come back. So let's just move the rest of the guys up. Now these workers are finished. We only have a population of 2 here in Munich, but we are going to get these guys to come down here and work where the deer are, and we'll put a camp down there, and that will actually give us a bit of extra food production. And 1, 2, 3, we'll be able to get that marble connected up as well. And when the borders expand to the north, we'll also be able to get those spices connected up. So that's all good stuff. Unit still needs orders. Yep, you guys just work your way over here. And stay there, basically. I want to have a quick look at these guys up here and see what's going on. So we could still potentially put the city where they are. I just don't want to end up with my settlers getting caught by barbarians. So I am going to get these guys to move down and maybe provide a little bit of cover for them, because they'll be ready in a turn or 2. So the Incans have completed the Great Wall. Not really the most useful of wonders given the map type. And we've had another trade route plundered. Barbarians plundered a trade route I established between Berlin and Kyoto. And that was down here. So, yeah, trade ships are not doing well at the moment because of barbarians. And I haven't really got any way of dealing with them. I am going to have to get some ships, so that is going to be problematic. These guys have got their upgrade, so we are going to recall them. As you can see, they've decided to go through the hills because it actually works out better for them. These guys are going to get their promotion, and you guys can move up here and you'll get your promotion on the next turn. So let's go straight for the next turn anyway. Not the fastest of map types to move around on, I'll be quite honest. There's quite a lot of rough terrain. And so I haven't built any roads yet, because roads do have a maintenance cost, and for hooking up just one city, it's quite expensive. We have now got guilds though, which does help matters out. So we're going to go into the technology tree. Now I did say that I'd like to get education and then compass, because I would love to get Oxford University. So I'm going to try and get Oxford University. May not work. Berlin has now completed. So what I am going to do is... What am I going to do? I am going to build a caravansary, because that will give us, well, it's extra gold when connected to another civilization, so it's not that useful, because I don't really want to have to trade with Hiawatha, so having a caravansary is a little bit pointless. Let's build another caravan, because we can use that to trade with these guys have got their promotion. You can get back to the front lines. These guys can go and get their promotion, and now everybody has the... altitude training, everybody can get back to the front lines. You guys are going to build a camp there, which will give us 1 production. Because currently it's giving us 2 food, 1 production. It'll now give us 2 food and 2 production. You guys are going to come down here just to try and uncover some of this ground. And hopefully, as we have our settlers here... See, the AI is suggesting that I build another city up here. It's not a bad idea. I mean, there's a wheat tile, there's horses, so and there's fish around. So potentially we could put a city up here and work these water tiles as well. So that is something that I may look into doing. But I want that silver more than anything. It's probably going to upset the Incans a little bit, but I'm willing to take that risk, because even though I do like to play a passive game... Okay, so... China wants to give me 1 gold per turn to open my borders. How about... No. I'm not that desperate for 1 gold per turn, and I don't see any advantage or purpose to opening my borders for her when she's so far away in any case. We've discovered some ruins. Going to carry on moving my settlers that way. Going to move my warriors that way. Now, the game was suggesting I build on the forest here, which isn't a bad idea, because I will get food from here. We'll have a water tile. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2... We will have access to everything there, actually. And we won't be upsetting the Incas quite as much. And it'll put us close to Geneva if we want to trade with them. So that is potentially a better spot, thinking about it. And we'll certainly have more hills to work for production. So this could be a very good production and gold city. So yeah, that forest is actually where we're going to go. So we now can produce something else at Munich. What's going to be the best thing to have down here? Probably the market, just so we can get some gold going, to be quite honest. But there again, we also need libraries if we want to build Oxford University. So let's go for the library first. It will grow in 4 turns, so that'll speed things up nicely. And we are going to go for... we're not really working any water tiles at the moment. Let's get the Writers Guild and the Artist Guild up as quick as possible. Add up to 2 specialists to the building. So specialist is something that I will mention again when we get more towards great people. But as it said, add up to 2 specialists to this building to gain culture increase and the rate of great writer acquisition, 3 culture and 3 great person per turn per specialist. I'll show you how that works when that building's built, because it's quite an interesting mechanic. I'm going to save the Artist Guild. We're going to get the garden going down here. Although we won't have that many great people generated in this city, so probably isn't all that worth it, to be quite honest. We will go for the temple, though. We want to get this city converted, because we get tithes, so it would be nice to have that city actually following our religion. Let's get all of these units moved back down to the front lines, where they can be useful if we get attacked again. And you guys are going to construct a mine there for an extra 1 food and 1 production for this city, as well as giving us another salt trade. And we have our caravan, which is going to trade with for 5 more gold per turn. There we go. Starting to look a little bit more healthy now in the Empire. These guys have now finished the quarry on the stone. We're still only working 2 tiles, and it isn't the stone tile at the moment. What we should probably do is come down here to this tile. It is a food tile. So we'll go down there, and I'm loath to actually make it a farm, because making it a farm would get rid of the forest. So I might just make it a lumber mill. Have to see how I feel about that one. We'll wait for it to go on to the next turn. And see what I want to do with it, sort of production and food-wise. Just wait for everybody else to have their turn, then city-states, then it with the barbarians. And now it's my turn. Okay, so... Oh, and we've met Cahokia. Okay, fair enough. Munich demands gold. So, yeah, that's actually recommending that I build a lumber mill here anyway. So that's what I'm going to do. It'll give me 1 extra production, but because I'm not getting rid of the forest, I won't lose the food. So, we're going to try and settle on that piece of land there. Now then, you guys... Okay, that's obviously deep water, so I can't go into that. That's an issue. And also, apparently, these guys can't go into it either. I made a bit of a mistake there. There's a random ship of his there, which I don't particularly like. So you guys are going to have to go up and around the coast to get there, which is quite annoying. It'll all be solved when we get sailing, but we're holding off on that for the time being, so... You guys can go on alert, you guys should already be on alert, and you guys can just station yourselves in the city and also go on to alert. And we are going to go on to the next turn. Unit needs orders, you guys are back. You guys are going to camp out on this island down here. That's if the Incans stop randomly landing their warriors there. And he just keeps sending these units backwards and forwards. I don't know what he's intending to try and do with them, but I guess we'll find out. Let's wait for everybody to take their turn. And we're starting to uncover bits and pieces of the map. New natural wonder found. We have discovered Ayers Rock, which instantly gives us an extra bit of happiness. It would give us 2 food and 6 faith if worked, but it's probably going to be... yeah, it's again, another natural wonder inside a city-state's border. That makes 3 so far. A little bit suspicious about this. Now we can go straight to the next turn here. Apparently there's nothing that we really need to do. I'm just going to babysit these settlers a little bit and try and get them up to where they need to go. We've also got the Chinese up here, although that is only a trireme, so they're not going to be able to land any settlers up there. So we do need to try and get across here as quickly as possible. I might also build my next settler and get them ready to go there. It's probably a good time to do it. So these guys were going to go in that hex, but they can't at the moment because of these Incan warriors. So I am going to just get them to stay still for the turn. And still 150-ish points ahead of our closest rival, who may well end up going to war with Carthage quicker than he thinks. So we've met Vilnius. We're the first people to do so, so we instantly get 30 gold for that. We had a salt for spices deal with Japan that is now ended. We are going to renew that if we can. Right, now we've got an issue here, and that issue is he doesn't actually have any spare spices, so that's probably why that deal ended, or maybe he ran out of spices a while ago. There could be several reasons for this. Maybe he sold off one of his spare ones for gold because he needed to. Maybe he had one of them pillaged, or maybe he was getting it from a city-state ally that's no longer allied with him. So we may well have to trade with somebody else. So I'm going to have a look through. Now, the best way to find out who has stuff to spare is go to diplomacy, click on the diplomatic overview button, and then click on the Your Relationships button, and you'll actually be able to see what luxury resources and strategic resources that everybody has to offer. Now, the Incans actually have 2 silver. Now, I could get that, but I'm going to have silver of my own shortly anyway. But I don't think anybody else has anything that is particularly useful to me, not that they'd be willing to give me anyway. So let's see if we can, at least for the time being, trade for the silver. So here's our friend, and trades do help to bolster friendships. As you can see, we've made a public declaration of friendship, and we have mutual embassies. So I'm going to offer him salt for silver, and he accepts. It's only going to be useful until I get my own silver, but still. Okay, Berlin has now finished whatever it was doing. It was building the Writers Guild. We are going to build the Artists Guild first because we want to start getting great people produced. So now if I click on Berlin, you can see what we have now is a couple of unemployed citizens. Now, unemployed citizens do actually give you 1 production, but they still consume food. So really those citizens should be employed somewhere. But what we also have here is we have our Writers Guild. Now, our Writers Guild does give us 1 great writer point per turn. So if you imagine that a great writer is going to cost us 200 points, it'll take 200 turns. But if I move these unemployed citizens into the Writers Guild, it's actually taken some of them out of other hexes. But for each one of these specialists in these slots, I will get an extra 3 culture and an extra 3 great writer points per turn. So now I'm getting 7 great writer points per turn, and I'm getting an additional 6 culture per turn. Now, having specialists does cause unhappiness, but they're a necessary evil, so I'm going to leave those guys in there. I'm going to leave this city now on default focus as well. Not going to be micromanaging the hexes too much because it's got a big enough population to balance itself pretty well. We've got a unit that needs orders. These guys can actually now get down on this tile. And this should stop these guys moving backwards and forwards. Maybe they'll move off now because they don't have anywhere to go. So we'll see what happens there. And we've got the Romans there. Now that should be a... yeah, that is a coast tile. So our settlers can move through that tile. So we should be okay landing them on that shore. And we should be able to set a city up there relatively safely. We just need to see what he's going to do. Yeah, he's landed there, but that's not too much of a problem. Japan is protecting Ur. Now that is something that we could do. It's peace treaty is now expired with Hiawatha, so he could now actually declare war on me. We've now acquired silver because, of course, we got that in a trade deal from the Incans, and that's actually given us a Wheel of the King Day. So even though we didn't particularly need to get it straight away, it's useful that we have because it's given us a Wheel of the King Day, which gives a growth bonus in Berlin. So let's move my settlers up on here. Alright, I wasn't expecting that to actually swap. I thought that they would be able to... This is one thing you can do, by the way. If you've got two units that could potentially exchange hexes and they both have the movement to do so, clicking one unit on top of another will get them to swap. I mistakenly thought that my warriors, my brutes, would be able to stack on top of the settlers, but they can only do that on land. Only a naval unit can stack on top of a land unit in the water, but that's not too much of a problem. So these guys are going to go on alert. And yes, I was saying something before. Oh yeah, protecting city-states. You can pledge to protect a city-state, and what that does is it increases the resetting point for your influence with that city-state. So you won't change from friends to allies so early. You won't change from allies to friends so early. You won't change from friends to neutral so early. You get an extra 5 influence grace. The way it works though is if somebody else attacks that city-state or bullies them, tries to demand tribute from them, then you are kind of obliged to go and help them, and if you don't, you will lose influence with them. So you should only really pledge to protect a city-state if you are willing and able to actually protect them. So let's go on to our next turn. I was half expecting Hiawatha to try and declare war almost straight away. No doubt he's already started to rebuild his army. Although I don't know how much he has. Probably not an awful lot because he was quite short of cash. Losing friendship with Singapore, but there's not an awful lot I can do about that. I don't have the money to be able to just bribe them into being my friends. Units needing orders. Okay, let's go and get that marble connected as soon as possible. And we are going to land these settlers as soon as we can. Let's get these brutes back up here. Actually, they may need the protection later on. That was a nice, quick and easy turn. Okay, so Carthage wants us to give them salt for 2 golds per turn, 2 horses, and open borders. I'm going to accept because I now have the spare salt, because that's the one... I should still have the spare salt. Or did I misread that? Yep, I still have a spare salt. As you can see, we now have 2 unhappiness generated by specialists, because we have 2 specialists. There are ways to reduce the unhappiness you get from specialists through various social policies. So, a salt and citrus deal with the Songhai. We will try and get that going again if we can. He still has the spare citrus, we still have the spare salt, and he's happy to do that. That keeps our happiness up. These workers are now going to... Let's go ahead and get the gems, because that will give us another luxury resources, which will give us an extra 4 happiness, and if we work the tile, an extra 3 gold. So we'll definitely have that. I don't remember what these guys were doing. Did I send them down here for any particular reason? Oh, I see. They've been pushed across the water because their borders popped onto the cows. Okay, that's fine. Let's get you up here on the hill so you've got a better view of what is going on. Won't be able to do this in a single turn because, of course, it takes 1 turn to land and 1 turn to move. So let's get our barbarians back up there. Remember, these were barbarians that we actually captured with our Fura Teutonicus civilization unique ability. So we're going to have a new city there, which will instantly put us within range of this silver. And we should quite easily beat the Incans to it because they're too far away to expand onto that, to be quite honest. So we can adapt to social policy. Berlin can build something new. So what I'm going to do, I can't build any of these things here yet. So I am going to go right ahead and get ourselves another settler so we can put them up there. And we are going to adopt a policy. And we should probably continue going for aesthetics. So culture increased by 33% in all cities, which have a world wonder, and the Empire immediately enters the Golden Age. We could also go for Liberty, which would allow us to go for representation. Each city you found will increase the culture cost of policies by 33% less than normal, because every time you build a new city, the amount of culture it takes to buy a social policy increases, and that would be a great way to stop that from happening. We'd also be able to get a free worker going that way. Or do we want the... I think we've got to go for this one first. We've got to go for flourishing the arts first. Then we'll start going up the Liberty tree a little bit if we can. If we click on Berlin now, you can actually see that we are already 49% of the way towards getting a great writer. We have plus 12 great writing points per turn. We have a policy bonus of 25% and a city bonus of 50%. So the rate at which we get great writers is very, very fast. It's literally 9 turns for every great writer. And that's going to be the first great person we can get. You can also actually focus on to great people, which mainly just puts people in specialist slots. Now, as you can see, this is probably a good time to talk about specialists, actually, just before I wrap up the video. There are three different types of specialists, 3 different types of great person. I don't count great prophets into that, because great prophets are a religious unit that you can just build with faith over time. So there are 3 types of great person. There are great war leaders, which is the great admiral and the great general. There are... specialists, which are great scientists, great engineers, and great merchants. And there are artists, so you get the great artist, great writer, and the great musician. Generals and admirals are earned by getting XP for killing things. So if you go into additional information and look at the military overview, you'll see at the bottom here you have a Great Admiral progress and a Great General progress. Now, my Great General progress is 71 of 200. And as you can see, progress towards the next Great General is based on the XP earned by land units in combat. So that also counts killing barbarians. So in total, all of the fights that I've had with land units have gained me a total of 71 experience. When I hit 200, I'll get a Great General. Exactly the same thing with the Great Admiral. The only difference is you get a Great Admiral from XP based on the naval units in combat. So what do those 2 units do? Well, they both work pretty much the same way. They can't actually enter directly into combat, but if you put a great general near your troops, it actually gives a combat bonus to all of the troops within a 2 hex radius. You can also use a great admiral to do the same thing with ships. Now, you can also expend them. If you expend a Great Admiral, it will instantly heal all of the ships within a 2 hex radius, and it consumes the Admiral. You can't use him anymore. If you consume a Great General, you can construct a citadel on a hex. Now, a citadel is built instantly. It works kind of like a fort, so it gives you a defensive bonus if you put units inside it. Now, you can build a citadel anywhere within your own borders, and on any hex that is adjacent to your own borders. Now, the great thing about a citadel is not only does it claim the hex that the citadel is on, but it claims all 6 of the surrounding hexes. So if I were to put a great general here on this hex and turn it into a citadel, it would build a citadel here and it would claim all 6 of these hexes, including the 2 that already belong to the Iroquois. So it's a nice little way of stealing territory. So that's what you do with the great military leaders. Next, you have your specialists. You've got a great engineer. The great engineer can either be expended in a city, and it will give you a one-time massive boost to production, which is a great way if you've got a wonder and you want to try and beat somebody else to it. So you can either expend a great engineer for a one-time boost to production, or you can do what we did with the first one we got and build a manufactory, which when worked gives you a fairly decent production output per turn. You also get great scientists. Now, great scientists work in pretty much the same way as the great engineer, except it's research instead of production. So you can either expend them in the city for a one-time massive boost to science, and that will probably complete or almost complete the production, the research that you're on. Or like you can do with the great engineer, you can actually take them to a hex and build an academy, and if the academy is worked, that will give you a certain amount of science per turn. Now, the Great Scientist is fairly more useful if you decide to expend it for a science boost, because any science, let's say you're researching something and it has 50 research to go. If you pop a Great Scientist and he has 100 research, the additional 50 will go into a pool, which will then be added to the next thing you research. If you use your Great Engineer to rush a production, anything that is over tends to get lost. So it's only worth rushing something if it's a really big build. The third one you get is a Great Merchant. Great Merchants, again, can be used to upgrade a hex and build a customs house, which will give you gold per turn when worked. Or you can take a Great Merchant to a city-state, put him within their borders, and you get the option to conduct a trade mission. Trade mission will give you a massive one-time chunk of gold, and also a big influence gain with that city-state. So those are the three specialists. The other three types of great people are the Great Artist, the Great Writer, and the Great Musician. Now, they can all be used. Respectively to create a great work of art, a great piece of music, or a great piece of writing, and those items can be placed within the various slots in the buildings you have. So, for example, if you have an amphitheatre, they have slots for great works of writing. The palace has a slot for a great work of art. You get museums and opera houses and libraries, and they have slots for various different things. Of course, we've got the Parthenon, which has a slot for a great work of art. Now, there are four types of great works. You have great works of art produced by artists, great works of writing by the writers, great works of music by musicians, and you also have artifacts. Now, artifacts are actually recovered using archaeology, so we won't get any of those until later on. You can actually swap great works with other cultures. You can swap great works of writing, art, and artifacts, but you can't swap music. And we'll cover that later on when we get to it, because it's useful sometimes for getting bonuses to tourism. So we will cover that when we get there. But there are a couple of other things that those specialists can do. So, for example, a great writer, you can expend him to write a political treaty, which basically gives you a one-time massive boost to your culture. You can use the Great Artist to start a Golden Age, so it will instantly put you in a Golden Age. If you're currently in a Golden Age, it will just add it on to the length of the existing Golden Age. And the Great Musician is probably the most interesting for a cultural victory, because you can take them to another civilization, put them within their borders. Now, you do need to have open borders to be able to do this, but you put them in another civilization's open borders, and you can perform a concert tour. And that concert tour will give you a one-time boost to your tourism with that particular civilization. So that's a great way to actually go on a very offensive cultural victory. As we get to them, I will cover all of those things in due course. But let's set up our next city, and we have Cologne here. We already have this silver in sight. Probably going to have to build a worker here, because I don't want to automate workers and have them constantly moving backwards and forwards across the sea. It's going to take a long time before this can actually do anything, because it doesn't have an awful lot of food. As you can see, a worker is going to be 59 turns, which is absolutely ridiculous. So we are going to start off by trying to build a granary, and hopefully it won't take the full 50 turns. These guys are here purely for defensive reasons. These guys have now finished building whatever it was there. It was a lumber mill. What should we go and build them now? We've got a desert farm, which seems pretty pointless. It's giving us one food. But there isn't an awful lot else here that these guys can do. Bear in mind, they have now been in friendly territory, which does mean they have the ability to embark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them over here and see if we can not get them back to our own territory before the Iroquois borders expand over the water, over the shallow water, and stop us from getting back up there. I realise this video's run on now for about 40 minutes because I was waffling on about the great people, but I'm going to do the next turn quickly, just so that we can see what we've got going on. And I was about to say not a lot. It was starting to look like we were going to have a turn when nothing happened. So we're going to get these this mine on the gems. Now we'll actually get rid of some food because this is a jungle, and the jungle provides 2 food. By constructing a mine, we have to remove the jungle, and that will lose the food. But we will get +3 production because it's on a hill, and we will also get the 4 gold for working it, and we'll get the gems. So definitely worth doing that. Those guys are now on a hill. They're going to stand there. They've got a good viewpoint, and that is pretty much the end of the turn. Almost 200 points now ahead of Caesar, who is in 2nd place. We can see here that the Iroquois are building the Great Pyramids. So he's going to get 3 free workers soon. That's if he hasn't already got them. Actually, I don't want to speak to you. I want to look at the diplomacy overview and global politics. And no, he doesn't actually have any wonders at all at the moment. And he's quite late in the game where he's building that. So somebody could still beat him to it. I'm not sure if anybody else is attempting to build the Great Pyramids. Obviously, anywhere that I have an embassy, I can see into their capital. I can't see anybody else building them. Of course, you do have to have the Liberty Tree unlocked in order to be able to build the Great Pyramids. But it doesn't look like anybody else is building them. So they may well get that. But there's going to be more workers for me to steal in the future. So guys, thanks again for watching, and I hope you're still enjoying the series. And I know a few of you do have questions, and you leave them in the comments. By all means do. I'll try and answer them the best I can. If it's something quick and simple, I'll probably just pop it in the comments. But if it's something that requires further explanation, I'll probably cover it in a video. So, until next time, goodbye for now.